Shut up.
You're good to go.
Oh, that's great. I
Okay.
said that.
Ready? So,
I got that.
yeah. Welcome to our regular meeting of council in person and live streamed electronically for Tuesday, May 20th. Our community news events, the Household Hazardous Waste Depot in Carleton Place, 128 Patterson Crescent is open for the season, Saturdays from 8 till 12. Bring proof of residency. If you have any questions, please contact the township office. And the Montague Summer Games are scheduled for June 21st and includes a 5K and 10K fun run and volleyball tournament. Reach out to the township office for information on registration. So our land acknowledgement, the council and staff of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. We'll have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll that the regular meeting of council agenda dated May 20th, 2025 be approved as amended to add 3D line painting contract, 3E Public Works and Fire Complex Update Number 7 IT costs, and move 8B Lanark County Council Media Release May 7th, 2025. 8D Lanark County Resolution 3 Impact of Closure of Algonquin College, and 8F New Communication Tower, Bennett Road and William Campbell Road from information items to action items. All in favor? And that carried. And this order to move now at any time during our meeting. Moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the minutes of the regular meeting of council dated May 6, 2025 be approved as presented. All in favor? And that's carried. Any business arising from our previous meeting? No delegations, no deputations, so we'll move on to our first report of municipal officers. Our treasurer, deputy clerk, Allison Braken, 2024 surplus reserves allocations.
Thank you, Chair. In front of you this evening is the 2024 surplus allocations. So back on April 15th, at the regular council meeting, the KPMG presented council with the 2024 financial statements, which included the surplus amount of $529,130. We need, on an annual basis, we allocate these funds in relation to recommendation from staff. So there's a number of items in relation to the surplus. We did have our investment that had a good rate of return again last year, which accounted for an additional $268,000. Waste disposal was under budget $27,000. Winter maintenance was under budget $27,000. The gravel contract, it included a shared road with Drummond North Elmsley and therefore resulted in known savings of $59,000. We had that discussion with council of maintaining that gravel contract amount as opposed to going up and down every year and then allocating the surplus back to Public Works. Approximately $118,000 in savings just throughout the Public Works Department throughout the year. We were short-staffed. A couple of items didn't happen and or we were under budget on some items. We had savings for bylaw enforcement and animal control as the contract continues to result in savings. The fire department emergency management was under about $18,000. We had some additional new builds. So that was additional taxation of about $26,000 and other small savings in other departments. So we did use some of, we would have had a larger surplus, but throughout the year, council approved some purchases that were allocated to be funded from 2024 surplus or reserves if there was no surplus. So in the report, we also list them that the ARO, so the asset retirement obligation, was additional costs which were funded from surplus. 41,000 in wage adjustments that was to be used from reserve. The amount required was approximately 11,000 because again we were short staffed. So and that was funded from surplus. We didn't pull any reserves to leave those reserves there for future. flashing speed signs. The OPP contract was to be offset by an operating reserve of 7,000 we did not need to use. Stove replacement, Rosedale Hall, we went with a smaller stove for now, to see what usage before we buy a expensive commercial unit. Upgrades to Rosedale Hall, so we did painting, flooring, sound panels, etc. Council approved up to 15,000. All of that cost was 9 because staff completed the painting themselves in-house. And allocating in preparation of the OPP reconciliation for collective bargaining of 59,000, which you're gonna see in the report this evening, that we have that set aside for the surplus allocation. So attached to the report, sorry, mine's just really small. We have 59,495, that was as per council direction, into the OPP reserve. As council will recall, the OPP did collective bargaining that went back several years, and the third or fourth year for it is 2026. In 2025, the provincial government, due to municipalities pushing back on the large increase, gave somewhat of a buffer, or they removed some of the additional increases and gave us kind of a one-time grant fund. We're not sure that's gonna happen, and as council directed, we were gonna put some money aside to make sure we didn't have a huge increase in 2026, that we were allocating some of that ahead of time. Salary adjustment reserve, again, we didn't use it. Reserve set aside for capital purposes, so general government. We have just over 213,000 of the surplus going in there, and that will be to help offset the complex and what's happening over there. Public Works, we accounted for 237,000. Again, they had substantial savings last year with gravel and winter maintenance. So Public Works waste and streetlight surplus, allocating it there, and that will offset our new wheeled excavator and still leave that reserve with some funds in it at the end of the year. The fire department, again, they were under budget as well, so we're allocating 18,900 from the fire surplus to put back into that budget. And that makes up our 529,130. So would council like to change any of the allocations for reserves, or do anything different with the surplus than what's being presented this evening? If so, we just ask for obviously what you'd like to do. Otherwise, this is our recommendation based on the surplus from 2024 and the operations that went on last year.
Fine for me,
Yeah.
it's fine. Very well done.
So moved by Deputy Reeve Farrell and second by Councillor Bass, that council approve the 2024 surplus allocations as presented this date, and further that council direct the treasurer to make the allocations in the 2025 year. All in favor? Carried. This report is municipal manager clerk regarding Rosedale Hall rental.
Mayor, the principal of Montague Public School reached out to the township to request use of Rosedale Hall for their grade 8 graduation this year, as they did last year. The event is on June the 20th, but they require use of the hall for decorating purposes and for a rehearsal on June the 19th as well. And this report is before council to request that this be provided to the school at no cost. This wasn't their ask, but staff just deemed it would be an appropriate gesture.
Any questions?
I just gonna say, I agree obviously with staff's recommendation. I think that's what we should do. I think that's the right thing. Side note on that too, as well, is that Mr. Hanna is leading that school, which is, it's really unfortunate. I mean, great. So to the school I work at, so I'm very excited for that side of it, but at the same token, it's definitely, Mr. Hanna's been very, very awesome at that school, and the community love him. So and it's a great partnership that the staff have forged over there too as well. But I wholeheartedly agree that, I mean, it was a great, nice air conditioned place. We've gone to their graduation ceremonies in their gym that is not air conditioned, and it can be quite hot in there. So I know they were very happy and comfortable last year. So I think that's fantastic that we do this. So it's a great relationship. So.
Okay. It's been moved by Counselor Crabtree and seconded by Counselor Johnson that council provide Rosedale Hall to Montague Public School on June 19th and 20th, 2025 for the grade 8 graduation at no cost. All in favor? And that's carried. Is our treasurer, the clerk, Allison, on docket questioning.
Thank you, Chair. This is a report, council saw during our walkthrough, our big lovely pile of Montague rock. That came out of the complex, foundation. So with the rock pile currently as it sits, we don't have a lot of use for rock that's of that size. We do have the ability to bring in a portable crusher for a couple of days and crush it into a 3-inch or a granular B size, rock. We could crush it into a Gran A too, but it's gonna be substantially more money and it's a bigger setup because you need different screens and all those things. But we can crush it into a B. The plan for it at that point in time would be for a couple of things. So the Montague 22-acre park, walking track / trail. The reason I say track / trail is because it's not really a forest over there to have like a natural walking trail through a bush. Our intent would be to make it more accessible, safe walking with a granular base, kind of through, maybe not like a track circle, but through, that would be a circle that you could do laps on your bike, or if you're walking a stroller, because we are doing the story time trail with the school. So there may be families and kids in strollers or scooters or wagons, those kind of things, that it will be more accessible. Also thinking is with our senior group, if we have a walking club or something like that, it's more of a level walking area for that as well. The other is that we are looking at alternate outdoor space for the public in another location in the township where we own property. We haven't brought anything forward to council yet, but we're starting to have discussions on what that would look like and if it's possible for us to have more of a natural scape on the other side of the municipality. So we would also be able to use it there. So we have reached out to a couple contractors that will provide portable crushing. You'll see the pricing here this evening. It works out anywhere from about $3.50 a metric ton to $5.75 a metric ton. Where currently the cost of granular B is $12 to $14, depending on where you're getting it. So we would have a savings of about 58,000 by crushing it ourselves and having that tonnage here. I think that it would be a good use of something that really is unusable. We saved money by keeping that rock on site as opposed to trucking it away when we did the building as well. So we're kind of repurposing and reusing the rock for something good. And we're hoping to get this done relatively quick, and then be able to get our walking path trail going as well, for the fall, to have the Storytime Trail up and our history board with the school, for continued use. Now there's all kinds of other ideas that I have for winter as well, but that's a different story. So this evening, obviously the options are for council to approve this or not approve it, and then for how we're going to fund it. So we can either include it in the cost of our complex underneath our township responsibilities, fund it from the rec reserve if there's no surplus in 2025, or fund it from the parkland fees that we've set aside for the walking trail project. But we do have some of those fees allocated for other projects this year already. Our recommendation would be for it to be one and or two, depending, I think that where we're sitting with the complex, and number two, if we have surplus in 2025. But I do think, and I think the strong recommendation is to get it crushed for our own use and then use it in our space.
At the moment, the way that it's going over here, we are saving some money on different things from what I've seen. And if it keeps going that way, that might be a good way then just to put it on that. If we're saving, if we're at the point, now I don't know what the end's gonna be, but I mean, if it's something that nothing major is going wrong now and we're at 3/4 of the way through it, wouldn't hurt just if it's that bit of money to just put it on that. And keep our other money for the rec as we're going along with it and that,
And just
that's my suggestion.
And share through you, yeah, so I think with going on Counselor Bass, we saved probably more than that by not trucking it out of here. So it would have been a cost to us if we wouldn't have kept it here, because the plan all along was, well, we'll keep it here and potentially crush it and use it for our own use. So that we're not purchasing granular beet to do what we need to do at the 22 acres. So that was kind of the offset for that.
Sure.
So yeah, going off what Alex just said, you probably saved, if not the full amount, damn close to the amount, not trucking it. It's a great use and a great value for our dollar that we have, and like you said, if you tried to bring in that amount of tonnage, you'd be looking at like $70,000, so it's a great use for it and great cost savings and gonna really help with a lot of our future plans, and it's awesome.
Yeah, so if we go with option one, and then suddenly we have something happen and the project is of a greater cost, we have flexibility to use option two. Can we word it that way, that way we don't have to come back again if something happens with the other one, if that makes sense, or is that overkill?
So chair through you, so council can direct us with funding option one as presented this date and option two as a backup in the event, so we can just kind of amend the recommendation.
Flexibility.
Yeah, and I'm on the same boat, I think that's great. What is it, do we know what it would have cost to truck it, that stuff?
No, because we ended up keeping it here, but it wouldn't have been cheap because with the new regulations, if you're taking a product off of this property to another one, it's considered an environmental issue. We can transfer it to another municipal property because we're the owner of both. And that's why we ended up keeping it here, because it would have been astronomical to truck that out of here.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stone
I
there.
was just kind of curious what that, because I mean, like 100%, this was like an ingenious idea for sure, so I'd say, like, I think it's great. And I just would be curious to know what it would have cost just to get it out of there, so if anybody asking, saying this is like a smart idea, this is how much it is saved, and this is what we're able to use it for. Like, this is really smart for sure, and I'm all for, like, I mean, I think looping it into the complex, I think makes the most amount of sense too as well, so well done on that, that's just an ingenious idea too as well,
So
so.
we also gonna save money on the back end, instead of having to purchase for 22 acres, so we're gonna save even.
That's right.
No, that's
Like
like,
it's
it's a win all the way around. No,
Well done.
Yeah, well done.
thank you, Mr. Reagan.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll. That council approve the crushing of the rock on the township site in the amount of $19,334.40 by Campbell's Trucking. And that council approve an additional $5,000 in crushing that may be approved by the treasurer if deemed appropriate. And further, the council approves the funding option number one as presented this date and option number two as backup. All in favor? Carried. And next we have municipal manager Kirsten on line payment contract.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So the report that you have before you was sort of a last minute addition to our agenda this evening. And it is to advise council that the joint line painting tender that we went in with the Township of Drummond North Elmsley generated zero interest. There were no submissions received whatsoever. Now the County of Lanark is currently conducting their line painting, and Drummond North Elmsley, I believe, is going to be piggybacking off of the County of Lanark, and staff here are recommending that we do the same. The contracted provider for the county is Trillium Pavement Marking. And they have provided us with some pricing and estimate. And those fees are included in the report. And essentially, the total cost inclusive of non-refundable HST would be $24,875.44. That's an estimate. And the budget has an allocation of $24,000 for line painting. So obviously, based on the numbers presented, there would be a slight overage. So this report was brought to council to seek direction on awarding that line painting contract to petroleum pavement marking, at the estimated cost of 24,875.44. Acknowledging that there might be some minor adjustments, that would be approved at staff's discretion without having to bring, further report to council. We're looking for direction.
Questions?
There's not much we can do with it. Like, I mean, there's nobody that does line painting. Like, it's like, this has been a struggle for years, right? Trying to find the stuff for it. So I mean, but we're in line for budget, so I don't really see like, I mean, it's pretty close. So I don't have an issue with it at all. So.
Going on with that, but as well, having the same company that's already doing it, usually there's cost savings accrued with that. Because they're already out and about in the area, doing it's like, getting your driveway rolled is your neighbors getting rolled, it's usually cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do this.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Johnson, that council authorize staff to award the line painting contract to Trillium Pavement Marking at the estimated cost of 24,875.44, inclusive of non-refundable HST. All in favor? It's carried. Next is our treasurer deputy clerk, Allison, on Public Works and Fire Complex update number 7.
Thank you, Chair. So this is an addition for this evening for IT costs. As council will recall, each month, you get an update, which is on the next agenda as well. In that is our township responsibility items. So we took a number of items out of the contract because we felt that we could supply and or purchase them cheaper. So included in that was the IT costs. So Lanark County is our IT provider, and they have put together estimates and costing for the IT. There's more involved than what we had kind of originally estimated or put money aside for. So included in the amount, we budgeted 25,000, included in this with a 10% contingency for county staff time to be on site and ensure that everything is correct as well, is just over 73,000. But included in that are some additional items. So instead of just one smart television in the fire training, we've opted for 2, depending on how that room will be set up. That includes the TVs, the mounts, the video bars, and all the cabling. Photocopier purchase for the new complex. Network cabling of the new complex and cabling to move the current server and equipment in this building. Currently right now, some of the equipment's sitting in our kitchen, which is not a good spot for it. And the other section is out back. So we would be moving it into the fire chief office where it can be locked and stored and protected and in a correct location. So that was not included in any of the original pricing. Networking, so switch access points and installation in the new complex. Also included is a new phone system. So our current phone system is very old. We can't even replace the equipment that we have. We don't have caller ID. We have no automated systems. We really have nothing and it hardly works. So with the new building, we were gonna have to get a new phone system for that building. So we asked them to price out to make us all one system as opposed to having 2 providers. So the new phone system would allow for auto attendant, obviously the training, 24 phones, which we don't have, but it will allow for growth. And all of those things. So the phone system alone is just over 18. So I have broke out down below the 73, which as said, it does have a contingency of 10%. So included in the township responsibilities table, we are under budget on a number of items. Again, those were rough estimates when we were coming up with these 3 years ago. So the budget amount for IT was 25. Savings on our generator line is 21,000. 15,000 is savings from the temporary storage that was not required because we went with a new building. So we would need 13,500 from contingency. It may not even come from contingency because even the removal of our moving the picnic shelter, white storage, and red building, we budgeted 70 and we're at 17, and that work is completed. So we're still substantially under budget on a lot of line items that would allow for us to upgrade both of the buildings while still being under budget. This would be moving our systems to the same as the county and other lower tiers that they manage as well. So for future maintenance and upgrades, we receive better pricing and the county IT can work on a lot of these systems because it's the same as them. So the recommendation for us is to proceed with this, and get this, in the works. And it would be funded underneath our township responsibility side, still being under budget is the anticipation. It's just some areas we over budgeted, some, this one was under budgeted.
Questions? No,
Something we need.
Looks good, and
Yeah.
it's still being managed perfectly.
okay, so moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Johnson, that council approves the treasurer to approve the IT estimates up to 73,422.80, including non-refundable HST, and that council direct the treasurer to present any further changes on the monthly update reports for further direction if required. All in favor? Carried. Reports of Committee, moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of May 6, 2025, and approve the recommendations contained therein. All in favor? Carried. We have no petitions. Our first bylaw, moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that bylaw 4143-2025, being a bylaw to enter into a road allowance use agreement with the Rideau Trail Association, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 20th day of May, 2025. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Johnson, that bylaw 4144-2025, being a bylaw to appoint members to boards, committees, and other statutory positions, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 20th day of May, 2025. All in favor? And that's carried. You have no motion, notice of motion. If I could go back and find those numbers that we moved.
BD now.
Hey, Jeff.
This will be quick because we talked about the automated speed enforcement a little bit last week in the minutes from the committee, and this is just sort of Leonard County saying we are behind it, we're going forward with it, so we'll continue to move forward, and as I get more information and everything else, I'll share it with the group. The other ones in there, they're like the tourism one was kind of neat, more just talking about the trails update. The other one I think was kind of neat was the septic one. There was it came from Tay Valley because there were some worries about is there enough capacity. I think that's an important thing for all of us because like basically the majority of our township is on septic, and just talking about is there enough places to put all that stuff and what the challenges are and all that kind of idea. So it was a pretty fulsome sort of discussion and talk that Mike did that brought back to us that kind of gave some clarity that right now there's not an issue with septic, but there could be an issue down the road. And I think that might be something that obviously if it becomes more of an issue, we obviously want to be right on top of it, because if we start, people can't get their septic tanks pumped out, that'll be a pretty big deal. But right now that when they've done a kind of preliminary sort of talk and check with everybody, that things are okay, but it could change if like some towns and towns decide not to take any more. Or there's less places that they can spread this stuff to, like they spread this stuff to as well. So I think that was a really good one to talk about. But I'm not gonna dwell on it too much because right now things are good, but hopefully we don't see problems down the road on that. So that was B. D is the Algonquin College. I think everybody know about Algonquin College and about the closure of it too as well. There's been a lot of like trying to talk about it. This is just the motion that we talked about it. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere with it, but it's obviously one of those things where it is a pretty big hit to the community. And it is important for us to understand and know what that means. So I just wanted to bring it forward to talk about that, or just to bring it up, just so we all are aware too as well, that we know that's happening. And the last one was.
Bennett Road, William.
So this is cool. We all got the email about this too as well, about another tower that went up for basically cell tower and cell communication. But one of the things I think we talked about the county on, but I want to make sure we bring it down to as well, is that a lot of these towers that are going up are Rogers specific. So like you may be saying, okay, that tower just went up, but I still don't see a big difference in my cell phone. And people are saying that, and I mean, I say the same thing because I use TELUS. And I think that was one of those big questions, is that right now, all of these things that are being built are Rogers. So if you're a Rogers customer, you're seeing substantial difference in your service. For us that are not Rogers customers, we're not seeing that, and we're just trying to understand is what does that mean for us? Should we all switch to Rogers? I don't want to like ever try to say go to a certain company. But one of the things too as well, is there is a sharedness to those towers, so hopefully we're gonna see the competition be able to use those towers right now. But it is kind of a sour point, I guess. We put all that time and money into it. Rogers has put money into it, but it is very Rogers specific right now. So that just is a good sort of piece for, especially if people are asking, saying, well, the tower just went up, why am I not getting service? What is your provider? Those are, just so you know that those are Rogers towers. Hopefully in the future, we'll see a competition go to it, but I think that's good for us to know as we're trying to figure out, is our service actually getting better in our township as we're seeing those things? But we have a good understanding of what they look like and what that looks like and everything else too as well. So there's also another cool thing, just to piggyback off that, the county staff have done, they've gone around and they have double SIM card things and they're able to check and see which ones are stronger and which areas are stronger. So if anybody's interested in that too as well, we can definitely make sure that information is shared to you. But it is good too as well, once again, if we have residents that are asking about that, because it is a hot topic, obviously, in our area about cell connectivity and everything else. We can get that access to have that information. It's good for staff to know too as well, if they're getting those requests, that they know where that they have access to look at those sort of things too as well. So it's good because it is kind of a big talk, conversation piece for us as well. So anyway, that's a chair for that. So thank you.
So we have no unfinished business, other business, open it up to questions from the audience. Do we have any questions?
Don't see any.
When you're talking about crushing the rock here and using it down to 22 acres. Are the trucks that you have here, can you transport it down with your staff?
Mhm.
Load it and transport it down, or do you have to hire another company to come in to transport it?
So chair through you, so yeah, so once it's crushed into a B, we can transport it over there, with the trucks that we have. So that'll be part of it, but we potentially are going to have a donation of trucking as well, but that'll come forward to council.
More to come.
Any questions online?
I have none.
The moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll that council recess the council meeting at 6:32 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Your evidence.
Welcome back to the committee of the whole, in-person live stream electronically, Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Land acknowledgement, the council and staff of the township of Montague acknowledge that the sacred that this sacred land on which the township of Montague is now located, and the meeting is being held, is the ancestral and ceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. Adoption of the agenda. Moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll, second by Deputy Reeve Jennings, apologize. The committee of the whole agenda dated May 20th, 2025 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? Carried. That's a nice pen.
Get one.
No disclosure of interest, delegations or deputations. The next one is the treasurer deputy clerk, Allison Braken, Public Works Fire Complex update number 7.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the entire update, not just the IT portion that was added this evening. So as council will recall, you did a walkthrough May 2nd. So all the installation is complete, painting is underway. The T-bar ceiling has begun in the interior of the office area. Painting of the trusses inside the garage bays has started. Topsoil of the hydro trench has been completed. White building and the red building has been removed from site out back. Site works have started with gravel being delivered. There's quite a bit of gravel coming in. New siding on the west wall due to the damage was replaced, and there's more siding on the front and other areas being replaced as well. Completion of the drywall netting. So I did include just a picture whenever they were starting to spray the girders and the ceiling up there from the dark gray to the white, which will really brighten up the whole area. Again, we're working together. The change order listing is here as well. So we're still about 153,000 into our contingency. Again, that rock crushing is large majority at $165,000 of what that is. The complex budgetary control report to date, you'll see that we're about halfway. It's still on budget. Contingency use is still limited, and we're working with the engineer, architect, and argue to realize other savings in areas where we can, for areas that maybe have a little bit extra. So in the change order, you will see that the additional asphalt paving of 44,000. We're also, we've asked for a change order for around the gas pumps to do concrete and potentially some more fencing and or mitigation for insurance and long-term from theft and or tampering with our tanks. That has been a big issue with municipalities, of people coming in and vandalizing them, and then they have an environmental issue on their hands. So we're looking at options there to mitigate that as well while we're doing this work. So that'll be coming forward as well once we get that costing for you. Upcoming, so our heavy duty compressor is on site. The upcoming work in the next couple of weeks is pouring of the floor of the mezzanine area, interior plumbing, site works, and pouring of the slab floors. We're still on time or ahead of schedule. The township responsibilities listing, other than the IT information, which I'll update on this for future, we're still substantially under where we were anticipating for a lot of that, but there's still a number of items left to be purchased, like all the interior furniture and the fire gear racking system and those types of things. So any questions?
It's hard to have questions when things are so thorough and.
We haven't touched wood while we say.
Well, no, I'm not saying, just think things are very thorough and the updates are like, our sponsor organization, like, but they're so perfect and like that's, and the updates are great and we're getting great information. So like, if I have questions, it's hard to when you have such great information coming to you, so.
So thank you to staff and
Yeah.
contractors and everybody. Thank you.
Building looks awesome.
Mhm.
It really does look nice.
Yeah, it looks great. It's been an enjoyable, but I'm ready for this 3-year project to be over.
Teamwork. Moved by Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor Baz. The council accepts Public Works and Fire Complex update number 7, report as information. All in favor?
Is it, I guess a quick question, is there any comments from the sort of the public kind of coming in or asking questions or that kind of idea? Like, is that something that, sorry, I put you on the spot on that one, just kind of get in my head, so.
No, that's okay. Chair through you. So yeah, mostly whenever people were coming in to pay taxes in March, they think it's great that Fire and Public Works, for the most part, I think anybody who came in and realized that it was Fire and Public Works getting a new building, they thought it was well overdue and well deserved. I think most people are happy to see that we're staying here and that we're not getting a multi-million-dollar new complex like some of our neighboring municipalities. So I think that there was maybe some misunderstanding of what that building was. And then once they understand that it's Fire and Public Works, and it's been relatively positive that's been here at the office from what I have heard. And then they all come in and realize and notice our front and how we have the new accessible doors and all that. And the admin assistant's always quick to say like that was grant funding, that wasn't off taxpayers, and they're happy to kind of see that too.
That's good to hear. That's what I've heard from up there too, as well. People asking questions like, that's a nice building, and say, well, it's firework, it's Fire and Public Works together. That's pretty smart. Like, I mean, I haven't had, I know from my personally, I don't know anybody else. I've like, there's been no pushback from people when we've discussed it and kind of where we've gone. And it sounds like, and most people have said, like, it sounds like you've done like thorough work with it, that's like everything else. So it's been good all around. So I'm just kind of curious if there's more. And it sounds like we've really communicated that really well, which is, I think, is really good. That's another kudos too as well, because I think that's a big part of it too as well. So yeah, great. Thank you.
And I think again, the timing was the best that it could have been, and a lot of money was saved by the work that the staff did. Yeah,
Only the timing with interest rates, all the tariffs, all of
Tariffs,
that, it
absolutely.
really worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
No, it's good. I was actually, a couple of the comments they said about time.
Yeah.
You know, they look at what's here and then you see what's coming. And it's like, you couldn't even fit a fire truck, the new fire truck into the building.
And that Public Works building was run down. It looked like, it looked like an old shot from the 70s. That was like, good.
Municipal Manager Clerk Kristen Cote, request to rescind vicious dog designation.
Thank you, Chair. So council will recall that earlier this year, we did have some residents appear as a delegation to request the removal of a dangerous dog designation against their dog. And at that time, council opted to delegate their authority to the township's bylaw enforcement officer to make that decision. Understanding that staff are currently working on an amendment of the animal control bylaw, and we'll be bringing that back to council shortly. So we have received a request from another resident of the municipality with respect to a vicious dog designation. And they are requesting that that designation be removed from their dog. So in the report, you'll see that there's a little bit of background. So this particular dog was present during an incident that happened in April of 2023. The owner of the dog had charges laid against him by the township, and conditions were imposed on that dog, and the costs were paid by the owner, and there have been no incidents reported to the township since the time of the incident in April of 2023. The owner of the dog has reached out to the bylaw enforcement officer to have the designation lifted. And the bylaw enforcement officer has provided their recommendation to the township that this be done, outlining the actions that have been taken to date, which include training, recommendations or positive recommendations from 3 dog trainers, noting that there haven't been any further incidents involving this particular dog since April of 2023. And the owner of of the property, has advised that his intention is to construct a fence along the front of the property to prevent, the dog from being at large in future. And commits to, restricting him to, the rear of the property until such time as that fence has been built. Additionally, the owner, did attend at the township office and pay the required $500 vicious dog licensing fee this year. And if council agrees to delegate their authority to bylaw enforcement and the decision is to lift that designation, then staff would deem it appropriate to refund $485 to the owner, which would be the difference between the $500 vicious dog license and the standard dog licensing fee of $15. That's the cost pre-March 31st of the calendar year. Anyone has any questions?
One of the conditions, was there ever a condition that a fence be constructed from this incident from a while ago, like from when that happened?
I don't believe that was a condition
There was never a condition about that.
originally. There would most likely, I'd have to go back and look in the file to see exactly what the conditions were. But I would imagine, they mostly related to, either muzzling or restraining. But I don't believe a fence was one of the required conditions, but I can definitely look into that. It doesn't, I don't feel like it was in my review.
Okay, I struggle with this one because I think it's one of those ones where it's it was pretty heinous, obviously, what happened, and it's really tricky to then to kind of to go back. I think I think it's still too early. I full respect to our bylaw officer and full respect to the dog trainers that are saying things are good. But I think in the same token, for that community in that area, I don't know if that is if the wounds are healed, to use that terminology, and for myself, I don't think it's there's been enough time, and I don't think there's I don't think it's the right message either in this time frame to rescind this at this point. I think there's still more time that needs to be needed, and I think there has to be just a little bit more of that healing process for that community so that they feel safe too as well, to move forward with too as well. That's my thoughts, and I'm just not ready to say okay for that, with full respect to everything that's been done too as well. I can see that they've worked on things, but I think there still is a piece of that community that is looking for making sure that they continue to feel safe, and I think that's. And they may well be with everything that's going with this, but I don't know if it's the right move yet, so.
Just to continue on with what Jeff's saying, was there not some other problems with the dog? Having cornered one of the neighbors in his garage, things like that? Because I've heard a couple of different things, and I find it quite confusing on this dog. Is that the one that was faulted it, or there's more to this that I've heard in that community than just what's been said here. And so does our bylaw enforcement officer, does he give us a report on this or what's been going on? Because I find this to be very complex. It was a lot greater than what some of the other people who have made requests of us. I'd like to know more about what's really happened, because I know they've talked about dog trainers and all this kind of stuff, but were there not reports that this dog was still loose? Or is that just what urban legend?
Chair through you. So this particular dog, there was, to staff's knowledge, no indication that it was directly involved in the attack. It was present, so it was not identified as one of the dogs that bit the resident. although it was present. There have been comments made with respect to dogs, but it's difficult to identify exactly which dog it was. You know, people can make reference to a black dog or a tan dog, but it's difficult to say. One thing I did want to point out is that, again, this particular dog, did not bite the resident, but the individuals that did attend earlier this year with respect to their dog and the dangerous dog designation, their dog actually had bitten multiple times over a period. So, I would just sort of like to bring that to council's attention, that delegating the authority to bylaw for a dog that had bitten, but not delegating the authority for a dog that hadn't bitten, just something to be cautious about.
So just clarification then. I thought when we did this delegation, it was a one-time, is it a one-time thing, or do we have to do this every time that we get it?
Chair, through you, because the animal control bylaw has not yet been amended, then each time this request is made, it would have to come to council until that bylaw has been changed to have the appeal process changed and the checklist that council had requested. That bylaw would ensure that everyone was being treated the same with the same criteria to release, confirm, or amend.
Question, because you want to construct a fence at the front of the property, saying that right now restricting him from the front until such time. So does that mean there is a fence in the back or the area that the dog has access to now? Or not?
To staff's knowledge, there is no fence currently along the front of the property. That is a future plan. And I'm uncertain if there is a fence at the back, but the dog would be kept to the rear of the existing barns. I'm not sure what the means would be, and that's something that we can stipulate. And also if council would be amenable to it, bylaw is prepared to present to council as a delegation at an upcoming meeting, if you would like to ask bylaw specific questions.
I would like to see that. If others agree, but was very complex, and I'd like to know a little bit more about it before that, going further. That's just me.
I'm on that same token, I'd rather bylaw and the dog owners to present sort of that case, because like at this point, I'm all for it going to the courts, and then that can be all put out in the courts, and you can, and the courts could say, you know what, we'll rescind that for you, if, and that can be the court's decision. But if, like I think, Councillor Johnson's suggestion is a good one, where people come to us, I think that would be better, so. That'd be like the bylaw coming into us too as well, so.
Is there any legal ramifications of us? And because now we're setting a precedent that we're picking and choosing. And I'm not, I understand that this was a very unfortunate incident, and my heart goes out to everyone who was involved. From my understanding, they're still going to put in some sort of stipulation where they're gonna keep it in their own backyard. So they're keeping care and control as far as we're assuming they're going to do. It's not the dog that was involved in the incident. The dog that was in the incident was euthanized. I just think if we're going to do this, we're setting ourselves up being biased in this circumstance. And that would be my only concern, is that we are not showing enough bias. We are showing a bias to a situation that was very unfortunate, that we had a lot of wonderful people here, and my heart does go out to them. But we have to look at from a different perspective and say that, you know, and we might have to put some stipulations, and I think that might be something that we can try to do, but I don't even know if we can do that.
just disagree with the characterization of bias on front of that. We're asking for more information. The bylaw has not yet gone forward, that this would be delegated. So in that not being completed yet, I think asking for more information does not make you biased, it actually is opposite of that.
No, more information, yes, but I'm saying to turn it down, that's what I was.
I'm not saying turn anything down. What I want to know is more about this. Because it is, you're right, it's, my heart goes out to the lady and also the dog that she had to put down.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about that end of it. I just want to know what exactly are these people doing? Where exactly is this fence they're talking about? All of that kind of stuff, because it's quite ambiguous on what they say they're doing. And I would just like to know from the bylaw person, okay, this is what, and this is why I make this recommendation. So I would just like to know a little bit more of that part of it, because I don't want us to come across as biased or come across where we do this for one person, we like the other person. I don't want any of that, but I do want more information.
And I wholeheartedly agree, and I think on the bias side of it too, as well as I'm not showing a bias because I think there's one that was a attack of the community, and yes, of the other dog, there was a lot of on their own property with a family situation, so I think we're doing apples and oranges here, so I don't see it as a bias side of it. I think we're talking about two not even similar cases, so I'll leave it at that, but at the same token, I think the more information part is the right way to go right to the gates. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that'd be a better way to go too.
The information, I agree with 100%. I'm just saying that if we start just picking this one way or the other, we have to make sure we have all the information. Otherwise, it would appear as being biased. And that was my intent.
Perfect.
Chair through you. So at the meeting that it came up about potentially adjusting the animal control bylaw, there was discussion, I believe, by Ms. Mounier and council about establishing a committee that would review these types of things. That would be a staff person, bylaw, and one member of council to bring back a recommendation to council. My recommendation to you, if you want more information on this, my recommendation would be to go ahead and start that and appoint a member of council with the municipal manager and bylaw to investigate or to get the information in this, or maybe it's two council members, obviously not quorum. To then come back would be my recommendation based on this particular instance, because I think that there is information that some of you are asking that is available, and you'll be able to get that information in relation to the dog that cornered somebody in the garage. It wasn't this dog. So I think that my recommendation to you would be, because that was kind of an agreed in principle thought process, no different than property standards and fence bylaws and things like that, that you appoint a member of council or two if you choose to appoint two, for Kirsten and bylaw to kind of give you an update on everything that's going on, to be able to bring this back. Just because we do have to be mindful that there's potentially legal ramifications on our side of things as well. That would just be my recommendation to council on this instance, to bring it back if you feel comfortable with that, because that was kind of the process you were going towards. It's just we're still working on the bylaw to get it back to you and get obviously public feedback because of this particular instance.
And Chair, through you, staff have been doing some research on different appeal committee options for animal control, and we've actually been able to find another local municipality that does have an appeal board per se, that includes bylaw enforcement staff and a member of council. So that should be coming back to you soon.
Like that. I think that's a great way to go. It's a broad perspective. It's not one set of people making decisions. I'd love to see something like that.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that's a great suggestion, because it's
So you could amend the recommendation to appoint one or two council members at this point in time to sit with the municipal manager and bylaw. If you're comfortable doing that. It was where you were kind of going. It's just you haven't got there.
No, that's, it just, now that these things are coming up, it just,
Snowballs.
yeah, for us to get there, and I know takes a while to get to all this stuff, but I think that would be good to have a committee like that.
So we're
Does
going to
council want to
appoint.
appoint?
Do we have anybody who's?
If everyone want to do it.
I mean, I can sit on it as one, if anybody else wants to sit on the committee with me.
I'll sit on it.
Okay.
Anybody want to?
So one council member and an alternate, or two council members?
It doesn't matter.
That's up to council, as long as you don't have quorum.
That's right.
It's entirely up to you, just keeping in mind that that's four then, so you may have a tied vote on a decision, whereas if you have three, you won't have a tied vote.
Well,
So,
you want somebody else to do then? So you have to get another member.
We could do Counselor Bass with the Reeve is always kind of an alternate, or if, whatever you choose, or the Reeve with Counselor Bass as the alternate.
Why don't you do the Reeve and Jim, Councillor Bass as the alternate, and that way the two of you are always sort of plugged into the whole thing.
That's fine.
Like, I'm perfectly comfortable having an even number there. There's a tight vote, because that would be an interesting conversation to come back to council
Sure.
to as well. So I mean, because it's not as like a binding thing, right? Like it's really just a recommendation side. So I have no issue with that at all. And yeah.
No, I'm good with that, then, yeah, I didn't really think of it that way, but it'd be neat to come back to council and have that kind of discussion, if it really is to that point.
So is that the stipulation that if it's a tied vote, it comes back for council's discussion?
It has to come back, sorry, chairs, yeah, through you. So it has to come back to council because the bylaw currently gives the authority to council to make the decision. You're just the body that's gonna bring the recommendation to them.
I thought, sorry, it's just because I thought our bylaw was being changed, that the bylaw enforcement was going to be delegated the authority.
But it hasn't been changed yet.
So it's
So-
just in the interim.
And even during the previous discussion, it was brought up that maybe it shouldn't be one individual person, that it would be the committee as opposed to just bylaw.
Yeah, I like this better than just having a bylaw do it. I think it still has the input by, and I think that's.
I think it was to keep your thumb, like, to
Yeah.
keep some
Yeah.
say and.
We're just bringing information back, the same as your.
Yeah.
It's always just bringing back information.
Elected officials involved in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is very good. This is a good discussion. This is good.
you guys are bringing a whole bunch of different perspectives, so a whole bunch of different people are looking at the same information, looking at it from different ways and coming up to an agreeable solution.
No, I agree.
Okay, I'll read the amended motion. That council directs staff to invite the township's bylaw enforcement officer to present their recommendation with regard to Rowan at an upcoming meeting. And that Reeve Jennings and Councillor Abbas be appointed to sit on the appeal board for animal control bylaw. That sounds like everything was captured appropriately. Okay, I'll print it nicely here.
You want me to reread that?
Okay. If you want to reread it, you can.
Moved by Reeve Jennings, second by Deputy Reeve Carroll. The council directs staff to invite the township's bylaw enforcement officer to present the recommendation with regard to Rowan at the upcoming meeting. And that Reeve Jennings and Councillor Bass be appointed to sit on the appeal board for the animal control bylaw with our manager. Let's see, quick. All in favor? No reports of committees, no petitions, no motions or no motions or notice of motions. No unfinished business, other business, any questions?
Yes. On this report, you're talking about the vicious dog. If you remove the vicious dog status from the dog, I think if it's like you're looking at it now, they shouldn't get the full refund from the $500. It should be prorated. So if it's 6 months down the road before they get it removed, they should have to pay the vicious dog fee for the first 6 months.
You're saying based on the fact that currently it has the vicious dog title and
Right.
if it got rid of it halfway through the year.
So Chair, through you, I wouldn't disagree with Tom in a normal circumstance, but I believe that the request for this happened much earlier on. It's just that there was a court appearance. So it's not that the request wasn't earlier on, we were waiting. So I wouldn't disagree that if it was a mid-year type of thing, but for this particular instance, it was presented like this based on timing of the actual request. Our delay is not their problem.
But if you do it for this person, maybe on the next one, if it's been, say, 11 months into it before they get their thing rescinded, are they gonna get their full money back on the next one? You're setting a precedence on this one?
I think what she was saying is that in this circumstance, it's our fault that it didn't come up quick enough. Because we were waiting for results of something else.
And Chair, through you, the precedence is setting of when the initial request comes in. And when the timing of the 1 year or 2 year, whatever that limitation is for the rehabilitation. So I think every situation will be a little different based on the timing. Yeah.
And also,
Get back to Tom on the speed things going in out of Smith Falls.
We did that night.
Yeah.
Oh, he was on the text, I just saw I didn't know if,
Well, there was phone calls to him too.
all right, that's good, I just wanna make sure Tom was looking.
But it hasn't changed. They just agreed with me that I was right.
Coming this way, but when you go into Smith
Yeah.
Falls, it doesn't say you hit 50. And when you come out, you have a 50 that's in Smith Falls, and then you have nothing that says you're hitting 60, you just hit 60. But when we're traveling west, it does say 60 is coming up, then you have 60 begins, another 60, and then the next thing you know, you're at a 50.
Yeah, there's no 50 ahead,
No.
50 begins.
That's the town of Smith Falls at that point, though, right? That would do the 50
Yes.
ahead, right? Because that's the biggest thing. That was that's not the county's part of it, it's the.
Just wanna make sure Tom was.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Properly looked
I think
after.
we were all on that one.
Well, if you get caught doing 60 in, as you're driving in from Roger Stevens into Smith Falls, you say to the cop, well, where did it begin? There's no sign says it began.
I was talking to Tom, and Tom said that I could get it.
I can do 60 until that 50 sign appears.
on that note, moved by Councillor Bass, second by Councillor Johnson, the committee of whole meeting on May 12th, 2025 now be adjourned at 7:07 PM. All in favor?
Welcome back. So moved by Councillor Johnson and second by Councillor Crabtree that council resume the council meeting at 7:15 PM. All in favor and carried. So moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Abbas that council move into closed session at 7:15 PM. As per section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 C25, in order to address two items. A, negotiations with the town of Smith Falls, various files, more specifically 2392. A meeting or part of a meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered is A, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on or by, to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. And B, human resources, more specifically 2392, a meeting or part of a meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered is B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal local board employees, and that municipal clerk, municipal manager, clerk, Kirsten Cote, and treasurer, deputy clerk, Allison Braken remain in the room for both items. All in favor? And that's carried.